Hi, pals. As we all know, July 5th marks the official beginning of spooky season, and this year we are celebrating. On Saturday, July 19th, we're going to be hosting a virtual Hot Ghoul Summer Party. We're going to have tarot readings available. We'll be sharing scary campfire stories. Don't forget a flashlight. And we'll send out cocktail recipes and snack suggestions beforehand in case you want to host your own party. This time around, there's also a way to win prizes. So, Saturday, July 19th, 8 p.m. Eastern, you can find all the details on our website at spookysisterhood.com/events. We hope to see you there. Keep it spooky, Sibs. Hello, Paranormal Pals, and welcome to the Secret Society of the Spooky Sisterhood podcast. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Melanie, and if you've stumbled into our headquarters here, our Not-So-Secret Society is a community built through social media to connect like-minded paranormal enthusiasts, and our goal is to lift up those in this space, especially but not exclusively women, who traditionally haven't had that opportunity. Each week, we'll be joined by a member of our sisterhood, a special guest, or both, as we discuss one of many fascinating topics in the paranormal world. If everyone's ready, let's call this meeting to order. Let the record show that tonight we have Spooky Council member Tamantha joining us. I'd also like to remind everyone that our third annual Haunt Down to Halloween giveaway starts August 1st, and it is bigger than ever, so don't miss that. Most importantly, if there's no other business, I am just dying to introduce you to this week's guest. This person is many things: a paranormal investigator, a public speaker, a medium. She's been featured on TV shows, magazines, and books. And I think we all know her from her social media presence, which, if I do say so, is pretty effing spooky. Yes, that's right. We have Amanda Paulson here.
Hi,
Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Hi. We're so glad you're here. Did I miss anything in your intro?
No, you gave me more perhaps than I've even done. I have not been on a TV show yet. But
Well, sort of.
Sort of. But everything else, yes. Hi. I'm pretty effing spooky. I'm glad to be here.
How did you come up with Pretty Effin' Spooky? Because I just love that, you know.
I don't even remember now. I started Pretty Effin' Spooky in 2019, like beginning of 2019. And I only remember sitting down and knowing I needed to find a name that hadn't already been taken and was like unique. And so I workshopped it for a while. But I think I initially actually had it as the actual word, which... you know, like, and then I changed it to frickin', and then I changed it to effin', and then that's what stuck. So I kind of I gave myself some, PR training almost. I was like, how about we not say the full word, and we changed it to effin', and then now here I am today. So yeah, thank you.
I love it.
Probably a good idea to shorten it for several reasons, I guess, for convenience, but you also want to make sure that everybody's gonna be on board. And
yeah, my marketability went up when oh my god, a cat, sorry.
I love that. You know what, if you ever watch Ronnie and I's reaction videos at her house, she has 3 cats, and always there's a star of the show.
I thought he was asleep. I wasn't even gonna tell you guys to worry about it because I thought he was asleep, but he decided now's the time.
He heard the conversation.
Yeah. So if you see anything that seems like an orb, it's not. It's a cat hair. He sheds so bad. Okay. No orbs, just cat hair.
And who is this?
This is Henry.
Hi, Henry.
This is Henry.
Oh,
yeah.
Henry.
So sweet. Oh, Henry.
My gosh. Well, my little furry guy is over here on the couch, and he will not be making an appearance because he is grumpy and old and will not move from that couch for the next 4 hours, I'm sure.
Aw, sweet thing.
So Amanda, can you tell us about your childhood, how you grew up? Were you spooky from birth? Or is that something that you got into later?
Yeah, so I wasn't spooky from birth, I don't think, at least. But my upbringing, I was raised by my grandma. I lived with my mom for a short time, but she was an addict, and so I had a kind of tumultuous upbringing. And I started experiencing paranormal activity when I was about 7 years old in the state of Montana, which is where I grew up. Wow. And it started with this duplex that we lived in, which I do believe was traditionally haunted. I had things move around at night, and I'd have these nightmares where it was kind of insinuating that there was, ghosts in the house. And I was so young and not... I wasn't predisposed to any paranormal media at the time. I wasn't like watching, I wasn't even watching, this would have been the 90s, so I wasn't even watching like Are You Afraid of the Dark or any of those things yet. I started watching that later after I first experienced the paranormal to try to be like, oh, like what is this about? But when it first started happening, I hated it and I was super scared of it. I was super terrified, and really for a lot of my life I've been really afraid of the paranormal. And I didn't tell my mom or my family. I was raised very religious in the Baptist church, and there was really was no room for it in the framework of my religion. It was either it's a demon and it's evil, or it doesn't exist at all. So I had to sort of internalize it and compartmentalize it, and I did that for the majority of my childhood. And then when I was 18, I joined a ghost hunting team and decided that I wanted to understand more about why I was experiencing paranormal things outside of that duplex that I lived in, because it ended up kind of not following me. I don't like that term, really. I don't think any one spirit followed me. I just was sort of open to it, and things would happen more easily for me. So yeah, that's like the short of it is, I guess you could say I was spooky from birth, but like it's not really, I didn't have anyone fostering that, or like I didn't really lean into it until much later, until I was 18, and then I started digging into it. But yeah, I've dealt with a lot of doubt and insecurity about it actually growing up,
Yeah, because it sounds like what you're saying is that you didn't have a way to define what you were recognizing in this realm, and then you add in the religious layer, because Ronnie and I were raised Catholic, which there's a lot of supernatural stuff that happens there. And I picked up on, you said in the Baptist religion, it's either it's a demon or it doesn't exist. Where Ronnie and I is like, well, you can't have one without the other, so you have God and you have the devil, and then there's this stuff that happens in the in-between. So that's really interesting. And gosh, I'm sorry to hear that, like it was kind of traumatic anyways. And it's like when you have a gift, because I understand that you have a gift, and so I'm glad you found it at 18 rather than 35.
To be honest, I didn't even find it at 18. I feel like I joined a ghost hunting team it was 2008. So remember 2008 Paranormal TV?
Okay.
It was Ghost Hunters and it was Ghost Adventures, and like it was super, super hyper focused on the equipment aspect. We were finding irrefutable proof. We wanted proof of the paranormal. We needed to catch a ghost on camera in order for it to be good enough. And that's great. That taught me a lot of good stuff that I know today and still implement. But I entered into that team. There was like 10 of us, and I quickly realized that there was a bifurcation that had to happen where we each had different roles, and we each were separated into like what we do on the team. And I was like, well, who am I? What do I do? I don't know, because I just like I have ghost hunting.
Where do I fit in?
And I did not consider myself a medium by any means at that point. Whew, sorry.
I love Henry.
He's gone now. But a cloud of cat hair just happened after that. But anyway, so I didn't consider myself like someone who could do anything of note. I just was someone who was like experiencing the paranormal, and I ended up identifying at the time as an empath, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just not something I identify with today. But I was like, okay, I'm an empath. Like, I feel things very deeply, and I can feel the vibe of the people around me, and, like, that's what I'll do. And it wasn't until, like, 5 years ago that I started really being like, wait, like, I started to reflect on it. It's been a journey. I won't go. Maybe I'll wait for a different question to go into this, but like, it's been a journey, and I love talking about it though, because it's like, I think you meet a lot of people that are in the paranormal space today that are so strong and confident and sure of like their purpose and their point here, and they've known it all their life. And it's like, I'm an example of someone who was extremely self-conscious, very lonely, very like, I didn't have an outlet. I didn't have anyone like fostering this, like, yes, you can do this. You can be a medium. Yeah.
Explore this. Yeah. And I also like that you just touched really quickly on the empath piece, because sometimes because Ronnie and I also had a difficult childhood, not because our mom was she wasn't an addict, it was just other stuff, but is that a lot of times empath is equal to trauma response, because we're so in tune of our surroundings to kind of build up this guard or defend. We're walking on eggshells, they somewhat say. So it's interesting too that you said, I didn't discover my gift till I'm 30, and that you say too that it's also a lonely space and you don't have anybody to encourage your exploring this gift.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Of course. And of course, like the online community that I have both created in my own space as Pretty Evan Spooky, and then also been invited into the other communities people have created, have been hugely important for the journey that I've gone on and where I've gotten to today. Like, it literally would not have been possible without putting myself out there and finding other people who are also into the same things that I'm into outside of my, where I'm living. And the internet has been an amazing thing for that. So, yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because that's actually how Spooky Sisterhood came to be. I was in the middle of working on a kind of like a passion project of mine, and I put out a call on social media for women in the paranormal, and no joke, I got really lucky, and it got shared by some folks that are pretty well known, and within a week I had almost 1,000 responses in my inbox. And one thing that was consistent in all of them was that they were looking for more people to connect with that were like them, and more people to connect with in this space in general, because we all saw the TV shows and we all thought it was cool, but like, it's not something that has been a very common like hobby or a very common profession really for a lot of people. So I think a lot of us didn't really know what to do next. It was kind of like, well, this is cool and I enjoy it, but now what? And where do I, like you said, where do I fit into this? So I'm really glad that you brought that up, like Samantha said, and I'm glad that you found your community and your niche, because that's really cool. I wish that we had all the time in the world to talk about all the cool things that you do, because there are so many. But I did want to ask about the Paranormal Emotive Touchpoint Theory. Is that something that you can explain a little bit for us? I know that you talk about it when you do like public speaking and things, but could you kind of give us a little bit of an idea about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few years ago, I started doing a lot of research on the Olympic Peninsula for a documentary that I filmed, and it ended up spanning the course of 4 years. And this is an important start to the Paranormal Emotive Touchpoint Theory, because it would have been more than 4 years now, but 5 years ago, when I start researching very heavily into the paranormal phenomena that's happening on the Olympic Peninsula, I started to make some really important connections between my emotional world and the emotional world of the living around me and paranormal phenomena. And I started realizing how integral paying attention to our emotions is in a paranormal investigation. And you might be like, duh, like we kind of know that it is important to pay attention to your emotions. But I was thinking and realizing that there were these other emotions that weren't just grief or sorrow or fear that we were so used to in the paranormal field, but there were other emotions that seemed to be extremely important, and even maybe were acting as keys or tools for us to connect with the other side easier. And so I started developing a theory around what I call odd emotions, ODD, odd emotions. And odd emotions typically revolve around these main four emotions: deja vu, synchronicity, liminality, and nostalgia. And you'll know, like synchronicity isn't really an emotion, but it's an emotional experience. Odd emotions is sort of an umbrella term for these strange, anomalous emotional experiences that we have that are often very visceral. We feel them in our gut. And so I started sort of fleshing out this theory that there could be an umbrella term for these, and that these are actually paranormal in nature, that these are not just living human emotions, but are a paranormal phenomena, And so further from that, I started to develop the Paranormal Emotive Touchpoint Theory, which theorizes that there are soft spots throughout the world or in moments of time where the veil is thinner and the other side is easier to connect with, and they're shown to us by the presence of these odd emotions. And so to put it into like a real life scenario, I theorize that if you're feeling a bout of nostalgia, say you smell something really nostalgic, it reminds you of grandma, and you kind of go back into that place in your mind. If you were to stop in that moment and paranormal investigate or go into trance or do divination, if you were to try to reach out to the other side in that moment of nostalgia, that you could connect with the other side not only easier, but you could have a stronger connection and a more meaningful connection with any paranormal phenomena, any paranormal entity on the other side. So you could connect with the person that you're thinking of in that moment of nostalgia, or I even theorize, if you're out camping and you feel nostalgia, you might be able to connect with Sasquatch in that moment easier. But basically, to shorten it and to summarize it, I'm just, with the Paranormal Emotive Touchpoint Theory and odd emotions, I'm trying to do work around centering our living emotions in the pursuit of deeper and more meaningful connection with the other side.
I love all of that, and I want to take that, theory into our own paranormal investigations. Wow, that's incredible.
Thank you. It's very exciting, and it's proved. I call it a theory, but it's proved to. I've done many experiments with it, and it's proved to be extremely successful as even like a tool in paranormal investigating. So, for instance, I've experimented with playing a nostalgic DVD and then doing a paranormal investigation right after, or going into a mediumship session after inducing nostalgia. Or I did a experiment with creating synchronicity before a trip I went on to Pennsylvania to film a paranormal documentary. Before that, online, I asked people to help me generate synchronicity. And in doing so, not only did I actually generate the synchronicities for myself, but we also, when we would pay attention to them, it heightened the activity that we were experiencing, and it sort of created a snowball effect to the point where I felt like those odd emotions were part and parcel to the paranormal phenomena that we were experiencing that had to do with traditional ghosts as well. Like I just am very passionate about bringing ourselves back into the pursuit of connection with the paranormal. And it's funny because you think that you think we've been good at that, but I think on a larger scale, especially with the way that paranormal media has sort of become so huge, like I don't know what to call it. Like it's blown up with the internet.
It's like on trend. It's on trend, and so
it's very huge right now.
What I'm hearing, but what I'm hearing is that so whenever Ronnie and I do a podcast or we're working on a project, we kind of set the mood. We'll watch the back videos, we'll find the YouTubes, whatever it is. And you're saying let's get into this nostalgia space by setting the mood, if you will. Let's all do it. That's on the team. And then bring that to the investigation. My mind is blown right now, honestly, because I've gone on paranormal investigations, and it is we all just kind of hurry up to get there, set up whatever equipment we have, and it's almost so rush for the hurry 2 hours or whatever we have the venue for. And but I love how you're setting the mood on that.
Well,
to receive.
Yep. You totally get it. And it's and I do think a lot of people out there too talk about how important it is to ritualize paranormal investigating too, and to bring ritual into the moments before you go on an investigation or the moments before you go into a medium session or whatever, it's nice to create ritual around that. So, taking a shower or meditating or, setting intention, whatever, we can incorporate magic and the craft into it like that. But I'm proposing, in addition to that, bringing these odd emotional experiences, which definitely don't stop at these 4 that I mentioned. There's other kind of weird paranormal emotions out there, but to bring that into the space or to just pay attention to it when it arises as well, and let yourself be as much the center of our investigations and our research as the people who are deceased are as well. Because I think it's a meeting in the middle, and I think we've kind of gotten too focused on either really chasing after this very simplified idea that like we need to speak with the spirit of a dead person and we need to find out what it is that they have unfinished business and we need to figure it out. It's just been, we get really focused on that, and I've been there and I've done that myself too, and it can be really amazing. But I think that we can develop stronger relationships with the other side and make this more of almost a mutual aid effort where there's an equal give and take between ourselves and the other side versus just direct aid where we're just trying to aid the deceased. And I think we end up a little bit depleted from doing that sometimes. And I think that we can really grow and help our communities and help ourselves and help this life be a more beautiful life by trying to implement these theories into our research.
I love that.
I think that is so wonderful. I mean, you said a couple of things, and I'm just thinking too, because sometimes we go into these things thinking, oh, let me be a skeptic, hard proof. But now you're like, let us feel our feelings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's room for both too. And I think that, I think that a lot of times if you go into a situation and you are feeling that connection, that emotion, and you take that moment to really feel it and think to yourself, okay, I'm feeling nostalgic, or I'm feeling that sense of liminality, or any of those things, and you lean into it a bit, you probably will get some of that hard evidence too, because
yes.
I feel like a lot of times, and I'm not here to like name names or throw shade or anything, but there's a lot of like paranormal folks these days who think the only way to get any kind of evidence is to go into a place and like start screaming and yelling and, come show yourself and all of this. And like, would you?
Yeah, the aggressive and agitating.
I wouldn't.
No,
I'd be like, leave me alone, please.
I wouldn't
But if
either.
somebody came in and they were, calm and thinking these thoughts and these feelings that I also probably have, like I would probably be a lot more inclined to connect with someone like that,
Yeah.
I love this idea.
I think sometimes those people too that are like bringing in that aggression or the provoking or provocation, is that the right word?
Yep.
I don't know. I think they're like, it's kind of a case of like, you're almost there. You almost get it, because they understand that you need to inject emotion into the scenario. You need to either incite emotion in the deceased, or you want to bring yourself, like it's almost like a vibrational thing, But it's just they're kind of going about it in a very patriarchal way. That's like this hyper aggressive, approach.
Alpha male.
Yeah, exactly.
UFC type approach to paranormal investigating.
Yeah. Well, and for instance, I have actually like a real world example of this just recently. I went on an investigation over the weekend, this past weekend, with this team called North by Northwest. They're great people. I just met them recently. And they're cool. There's 4 of them, and they all have their own like thing. You've got a tech guy, you've got a skeptic, and then you've got 2 like sensitive people. But the skeptic is trying to, he's really trying and working towards being more open, because he wants to see and experience the things that the other people are. And so we started investigating, and then we had like a moment to chill and chat. And I started asking him questions about his daily life and started kind of poking at him for more information that would hopefully garner like an emotional response. I was trying to bring him up, because he was closed off I don't know if they'll watch this or not, but I really like them. I'm not, this isn't like a bad thing at all, but it felt like he was even closed off as like a person and making this personal connection. And so in that moment we had, I was like trying to bring him up to this more kind of emotionally open place. And right after we did that, probably like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards, and we were about to go like downstairs or take a bathroom break or whatever, we were in our like safe room, the activity started to kick up, and it was far away from us, but we were hearing these footsteps, and the REM pod starts going off, and all of this stuff is happening outside of the room from us, whereas before it was not as physical, like we weren't hearing things like that. And I really think that there was something to that, where there was this, maybe, I try to use different words, but I mean, really it was kind of like there was a wall up, you know, with him, and I think maybe when you have that, if you can try to break it down with humanizing the moment and bringing, again, our emotional world into the situation versus just being like, just meditate and just think it out of your head. Like, stop doing that, you know? Like, I don't want to like make anyone do anything. That's not how we work as human beings. Like, we're emotional beings. And so, and then I told them before that investigation too, that, and I can say that this is fun. I have big news that I can say because this is going to come out after tomorrow, but I just got a new job and I'm putting my 2 weeks notice in tomorrow at my old job.
Congratulations.
And I got the news about that on the night of the investigation, which was on Friday, which puts me in a very liminal place. I was feeling extremely liminal. I was like, man, I am like in between two different, like I have no idea what is to come of my life. Like I'm in this like in-between state, and I felt so floaty and weird. And so I got there and I was like, heads up guys, this is not about me, but also like I need you to know that I'm coming into this space as in a very liminal moment right now. And I feel like it could create a sort of interesting night of activity, possibly, if I don't know, like who knows. And it did. It was like we had some interesting activity to do with like this black mass, which I don't have a lot of experience with. I don't deal with like incorporeal sort of like blobs of energy very often, but that came up. And anyway, point being, I feel like it all needs to interact and work together. And the Paranormal Emotive Touchpoint and automotions theories are extremely important to my research now and what I base my entire pursuit in the paranormal around. So thank you for letting me talk about it.
I dig that. No, but just to go back a little bit, can you, either one of you, define liminal for me? Because I think I know what you guys are insinuating, but I want to be sure, and so I'm just thinking maybe there's a listener out there that may not know the definition of liminal. You guys have some wonderful terms.
Yeah, no, that's good. You're totally right. We should definitely define it. So, liminality is so the state of liminality in a person is when you are in between what was and what will be. And so the term liminal comes from anthropology, where they talk about it in terms of rites of passage. So in anthropology, there are these cultural rites of passage, say from boy to man, and the rituals in certain cultures that they perform in order to become a man. There's a liminal moment that they reach during that ritual where they're no longer a boy, but they're not yet a man. And so that's sort of where the concept of liminality originated from. But now it's become much bigger. Popular media has kind of taken hold of the concept of liminal spaces and liminal places. And so you'll see a lot of videos out there like of liminal places being empty hallways in desolate office buildings, or stairways, or like school hallways where no one's in them. It's often places where people are meant to transition through, like kind of thresholds and transitionary places where there's typically a lot of people and you're just supposed to move through it. But sometimes if you stay in a liminal place for too long, you start to get a little uncomfortable. And that could be true for liminal moments in time in your life as well. If you stay liminal for too long, you get really uncomfortable. A really good example that just happened recently is, and I won't get into politics, I promise, but the election is a very liminal time too, because say, we have election results in November, we don't have an inauguration until January. Yeah. And so from November to January, we're just like, we don't know what it's going to be like. It's not how it was, and change is happening, and
We know it's changing. I don't want the change. I don't want.
Yep. And so that's like a very good example of like liminality that we would have just gone through. But hopefully that definition, it's just in between what was and what will be. It's an in-between state is liminality.
I love that. Thank you for explaining
that.
For
our Catholic friends, it's kind of purgatory in a way.
And that's another thing too, is liminality. You have to be careful with it, because if you really get too in the weeds, it loses its meaning, because you could say we are liminal beings from the moment we're born until the moment we die, and that death is very liminal, divorce is very liminal,
new jobs,
being a ghost could be liminal depending on your religious, like you're saying, purgatory, or anyone who believes in the traditional definition of a ghost being like that they need to move on to what's next, whatever that is.
I would say that's what I identify with there. And I'm thinking of things like Insidious. I'm also thinking of movies like Black Panther, where they have that, ceremonial, or the movie Australia, and so that's fascinating how you put that together.
Those are great examples. Yeah.
Well, Amanda, I keep coming back to this one thing that I know. I believe I saw it on a TikTok that you did, and you attempted to investigate using ChatGPT. And I think about this, like, I'm not going to say it's my Roman Empire, but I probably think about it like once a week. And I think it's such an interesting idea. I am absolutely freaked out by AI, and I have tried to stay away from it as much as possible. But I'm finally at this point of realization that I'm going to have to get on board, or the robots are all going to kill me. So I just want to ask you, though, can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Like, what led you to try that, and tell us a little bit about what happened?
Well, I got told by a lot of people that I did it wrong, apparently, which is fine, and I need to try it again. But apparently there's a way that you can find ChatGPT, like, services, or, like, I don't know if it's a different section of ChatGPT or something, where you can, like, get deeper answers, because ChatGPT in particular, as an AI program, really mimics the way that you speak to it right now. And so it stores the memory of everything you've ever talked about. It stores a memory of how you speak, how you type, like all of these things, and then it just feeds you back basically a mirror of yourself, because it thinks that you want to talk to robot you, and like and a lot of people have a lot of problems with that, because it will enable some not so great people to keep being not so great, because it'll just mirror back themselves. Anyway, so when I tried to ghost hunt with it, I was not pushing it hard enough to like remove itself from the knowledge that it had of my previous conversations with it. And so I feel like it was kind of inconclusive for me, but I had been playing around with ChatGPT on a more philosophical level for a little bit. And then I saw actually Tyler Henry, the medium. He has talked about using ChatGPT as like to ask like spiritual questions and stuff. It was interesting, and so he shared that, and then I felt kind of emboldened to share it, my own stuff, because there is a public opinion about AI right now, and it's not environmentally great right now, and there's a lot of changes they still need to make with it, but I think it's fascinating, and I use it sparingly, and I've tried to get into, again, those philosophical kind of spiritual spaces. I've had it pull my tarot before, and you have to ask it to pull it as randomly and objectively, is that the right word? As possible, so that it doesn't just like give you that if you ask about like my job, and it'll just give you back what it thinks you want. So I ask it to pull it as randomly as possible, and apparently it doesn't have the capability to like shuffle through the cards randomly, but it kind of can. Again, I'm a layman, I don't really know how it works, but it's been really fascinating, and so the ghost hunting, I have to say it was pretty inconclusive, but I love the idea of using new tech for ghost hunting, and I love the idea of using old stuff too, and like garbage things. I just think that we can use literally anything, and we should at least try to. I think this is a field that innovation is extremely important in, so it's like we should always just be trying, even if even if we try and we fail, you know, even if it's weird. But yeah, it was fun. I want to do it again, and I want to do it like better next time.
I wonder if a different, like besides Chat GPT, I know there's all kinds of other AI tools out there. I feel like that would be TM for anyone out there who's getting creative, but whoever can come up with some real snappy AI handheld thing you can take with you out into the field is probably going to make a fortune, because I know that's really hot right now, but also, like you said, it's something new and different that we can be trying, and who knows what it will do, you know?
Yeah. I'd love to see, like, right now I don't love the state of the paranormal apps on phones. I don't think that they're reliable at all, but I'd love to see that grow and try to become a more reliable direction to take with paranormal investigating equipment, especially because it's so affordable for people and it's so accessible. Yes. But I know my friend Amy from Amy's Crypts sorry, she makes the ghost tube, I think, tube. She made one that's like ghost something. I'm so sorry, Amy, I can't remember what it's called, but okay. It was like, it's like a virtual reality thing where like AI generated an image. If you film it through the app and you film where you're at, and then AI generates an image, just a random image on top of what you're looking at through the phone. And that was really cool. And I didn't really understand what was going on there. Like, I don't know. I mean, it could just literally be AI generating random sorry for cursing. Random random images, you know, but I thought that what it decided to show was interesting. I used that at the premiere, at one of the premieres of my documentary that I was in at the theater. I used it, and it ended up showing this like military truck with these like soldiers that were lining the back of it. It was very bizarre, and I was like, this is really interesting. Like, that could go in a cool direction too, what she's doing. But I also just think paranormal app developers need to be more transparent with their coding, so that we know that they're not yanking our chain, you know?
Right.
Yeah, manipulating somehow.
That's really interesting, and I kind of feel like what you just said about it could just be some random image it generated, but I think a lot of times when we're in an investigation situation, we're thinking already it probably is either this or something kind of in that realm. You know, you kind of have this box of what it might be. And if it shows you something random like that, it at least, if nothing else, is kind of telling your brain, let me look in a different direction and see if something comes my way, you know? So I think that's really valuable. I can't believe I just said that about AI, but I do. I mean it.
I know. In my opinion, and I don't care who comes for me for this, but like AI is really a matter of, it's not the actual thing that, things like that don't have the capacity to be good or evil. It's who uses it, and then it's also is determined on how we each individually perceive good and evil and our own set of morals. So
true.
I don't think it on its own is evil or a bad thing, but I think it's how we use it. And of course there's terrible people out there who can use tech like this in terrible ways. I recognize that. But as far as being so involved in a community and a field of research that so heavily relies on innovative equipment and technology, it's silly to ignore the potential of AI and like the things that are coming into existence now, you know? It's just it's fascinating. And really too, like you said, it could be a random image that generates, or it could be a random thing that's said, but as long as it is truly random or AI generated and it's not hearing our voice and replaying that back, if it's random and then you have a synchronicity and it says something that actually has meaning, then you're on to something, you know? So
bingo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. All right, before the night gets away from us, I want to dive into one of my very favorite topics, and one of the things that I am probably most scared of, if we're being honest, haunted objects. And this is something that you are quite familiar with, I believe. So obviously we all know about like haunted dolls like Annabelle or the Dybbuk box, but something that I really have enjoyed is watching you investigate like antiques, like your jars of antiques that you have and all the other fun stuff that you get. But I was curious, what got you into doing that? What made you think, let me investigate things?
Yeah, a couple things. One, boredom and limited income, limited budget, because like I can't always go pay for an investigation somewhere, and I am 100% a person who has to pay to go investigate places. So when I'm like at home and I want to further my research and I want to keep doing this because I love it so much, I'm like, what can I do? Oh, I can investigate objects, and I can go thrifting, and I can go antiquing and find things for cheap and investigate them. And so I started kind of taking this approach of like, everything holds memory, everything has a story to tell. And so I had to kind of expand. I have an expanded view of what haunted means, because I don't necessarily think it has to always mean that a spirit of a deceased person is attached to it. I think it can also mean that it reverberates a story, and my equipment can maybe pick up that story. There are times too when things are haunted by like ghosts, don't get me wrong, like that also exists. But anyway, so that's like one reason and direction I took with investigating haunted objects or potentially haunted objects, but also super inspired by Greg and Dana Newkirk's work with their own haunted museum, and lots of other people that I know who have haunted objects or even museums of things that that I just love the idea of like hauntings having a container like that, and like kind of being so accessible and easy to experience the paranormal without having to really travel and like get your hands dirty and be like in an abandoned building, you know? So, but for me, I decided to take a very specific route with it. And so I collect primarily haunted jewelry and haunted art, which is like right behind me. But
I see, I've been staring.
and that guy too, yeah. So yeah. I have these dolls that are to my left here. That's all I have for dolls. Like, I'm not super into dolls. It's just like not my thing. And I figured if I'm gonna develop a collection, I want it to be stuff I want to look at and I enjoy. Yeah. And I love taking in objects that are not necessarily even old, because the stuff behind me is really not that old. It's just weird, you know. And I love taking in stuff that like people don't want. I love the idea of like being a steward to unwanted things. And so jewelry and art is like where my, I wouldn't even say expertise, I'm still learning, but that's like what I love to do, you know.
I think that's so cool, because there's been plenty of, you know, old movies where the necklace was haunted, or, you know, this is cursed, you know, so that's fascinating. I love
jewelry.
Too.
I think jewelry is untapped potential with pushing the boundaries of like what it means to have a haunted object, because jewelry, I have these rings on me that I wear every single day, and I imagine one day, many, many, many years in the future, I pass away, and what happens to my jewelry, I wonder if somebody will be able to, you know, at least have an impression of me on them. And like I have a ring on my right hand that my grandma made for me out of her jewelry, her and my aunt Sandy's jewelry. They had a jeweler make it and like melt down the gold and like make it into this heirloom ring. And this feels, if you were to, again, broaden your sense of the word haunted, this feels haunted to me. Haunted by many years of memories that my grandma holds, and the love that she has for me, and the love my aunt has for me. So, I love jewelry. I just think jewelry has so much potential. I think it's so cool.
It really does.
Yeah.
It does. So we have some Native American, indigenous, on a little bit of both sides of our family, and our great grandma Holly was able to hold jewelry and tell you, you know, about yourself. Cool. So jewelry does have that capacity.
That's so cool.
Telemetry, is that the right word?
Or psychometry?
That's the one, yes. Oh, that's the one.
Yeah. Well, and I had a
You smart girls with your
Well, I had somebody ask me on a podcast somewhat recently. They were like, so tell me about psychometry, which I thought was interesting, because I was like, shit, I guess I am doing that. Like, because I didn't really look at it that way. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about psychometry. I couldn't tell you how to do it. Like, I need to look more into that. But, like, also to delineate between, like, I have a haunted object that just on its own decides to tell me things versus I have to touch it or be around it, and then I can pick up the story from my brain because I have a gift. Like, to delineate those two is confusing to me, because I'm like, is it not all the same, kind of? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, it's interesting, but like, that kind of gift, though, where it's like, I need to hold it and then I can tell a story, that is definitely psychometry and a skill in and of itself. And I don't actually really think that I'm doing that necessarily, but I don't know.
I don't know. So fascinated by people who can do that, and I think it's so interesting. If I had one paranormal ability, that would probably be the one to me, to like be able to touch something and know what it's about.
I always thought it'd be cool to do that with like people, like in the movies where they like hold someone's hand and then they're like, oh my god, I see it.
Yeah.
You know, like and
Hello, Alice, Twilight.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god, I wish I had that gift. Don't get me started on Twilight. I love Twilight, so don't go there.
Oh, you are in the PNW. Hey, I rented out a theater for the final film, and we sold tickets, and it was like everybody was 6 degrees away from knowing each other.
Dude,
it was amazing.
I love that. You know what's funny, and I never talk about ever for some reason, but I'm not ashamed. I kind of a little bit moved to the Pacific Northwest because of Twilight. Just a little bit. Because I was only 20 years old when I moved here, and it was in the heat of the Twilight stuff, and I was super into it. And I'm in Spokane, which, if anyone knows Washington, Spokane is not like Twilight at all. It's Eastern Washington. It's like dry and like flat, but well, it's still beautiful. But I was like, it's cheap and it's closer to the West Side.
Yeah.
And then you know what? We truly have the power to think things into existence. We have such amazing power to manifest, because then what do I end up doing? I end up filming a freaking documentary for 4 years on the Olympic Peninsula, based out of Port Angeles, and based out of Lake Crescent. And so that's like right around where Twilight was, was filmed. It's there is like about Port Angeles and Forks. I've been to Forks many times, and so now I'm like, okay, my love for Twilight has got to kind of be a little part of my story a little bit, because I'm just
that.
like what a cool example of like the power of manifesting and just knowing like you're meant to be somewhere, but anyway, I'm Bella Swan, just kidding.
I think that's awesome. Yes, I love it.
No, I'm definitely more of an Alice, I guess. Weirder than Bella Swan, but
I don't know much about Twilight, so I can't chime in on this one, other than I know who Ella is.
What's your equivalent to Twilight that you like loved?
I don't know. I got into Harry Potter in my 30s, believe it or not. So maybe that, but I don't know. I didn't really have something like that at the time.
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, not really.
Is it because you've opened up about you weren't able to watch that stuff in your childhood or your home life? Is that why you missed the Twilight thing, or is like, oh, vampire stuff, I'm not into it?
More like I don't even know how to word this exactly, but like reality shows that were around at that time. So like, I used to watch like wedding planning shows, or like weird stuff on TLC, like Amish Mafia or whatever that show was. Like, that was kind of more my jam. What a weird combination, I guess. But yeah, just whatever random things I could find. But I didn't really have like a fandom thing at that time. I probably do more so now, but and I don't know, Samantha. I mean, probably Harry Potter, to be honest with you. I know it's a little bit more problematic these days. But
you just
probably that.
You know what I would do is go buy the DVDs from like a thrift store, and then you can watch them all you want, because no one's making any money off of it.
I got them like a decade ago.
Yeah, and I also think, I feel like they were on Netflix, so they've had a resurgence.
They
Twilight,
did, yeah.
And it is fun. We read all the books. I was late to the game, but I remember being PTA president, and one of the moms got so excited about Breaking Dawn being at our book fair, and I was just I was like, oh, that's too trendy, I'm not going to read. But let me tell you, I was hooked on Twilight as soon as I picked up that book.
It transcends age, to be honest. And same with Vampire Diaries. My poor grandma.
Okay.
I got my grandma into Vampire Diaries. And she goes, I've watched it all. And I was like, what do you mean you've watched it all? And it was like, in like 2 weeks. she had watched all of Vampire Diaries, which is 8 seasons, really long seasons. I was like, dear God. I was like, take a break. But anyway, my family all loves vampire stuff, and I think we all love
that.
like folklore and mythology, and like I feel like it all kind of goes hand in hand, witchcraft, whatever, vampires. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. I will say, just to your Harry Potter thing, I got to see the Cursed Child play, and it was excellent. And so, if you get an opportunity to see that, highly encourage.
Maybe.
Cool.
My nephew is just turned 10, and he's super into it. And he's, I think we just bought him book 5 for his birthday, so he's making his way through pretty well. And I love what it's done for him and his confidence. And just in life in general, but especially when it comes to reading, it's really helped him, grow, and I'm so proud of him. But
cute.
Another time we'll talk about my nephews and nieces. They're all wonderful, all my little nibblings. Amanda, question for you. Do you ever feel uneasy having these haunted items in your space? I feel like most people who have them have said, no, they're just hanging out, whatever. But I'm dying to know if there's ever like an object that makes you kind of feel like a little uneasy.
Oh no, I get scared a lot, actually. So it's weird. This is actually fascinating. So the energy in the office that I'm talking from right now, it holds everything spooky that I own. I don't have it in any other part of my house, really. Actually, no, not at all. I like keeping it contained here. It's like my little sacred space. And but it ebbs and flows out of here, the energy does. And it's really fascinating because I talk about it kind of like I allow the ghosts to stay here if they want. They can come and go as they please. And I let it be like a little hotel for them. My friend Shelby calls it like a ghost hotel. But she has a ghost hotel too. But like, so anyway, I'm very open. I've got my protections in place, and like I've got my stuff in order personally that I feel pretty comfortable with it being able to come and go. But when I really feel it coming and going, it's incredible because I will walk in and out of here in the middle of the night, super dark, not afraid at all. And then there'll be one time I have a walking pad down here that's like I can run on too. I'll be like running on that, and I run right by my haunted painting here. And every now and then, all of a sudden, I'm running and I'm just like, what is happening? Like, and it just feels like they just show up, and it's so bizarre.
Wow.
And it's like, but I'm not. The way that I connect psychically is it's very claircognizant. It's very like I just get an impression of it versus like I'm literally seeing anything, and so I just know that it's there, and typically they just show up and they just like watch and like hang out, and it freaks me out.
Yeah.
Actually, and this doll here too, I bought this at an estate sale. It was like in the yard, totally like face down, forgotten about. They hated it and they thought it was creepy. I bought it and I did not think, I'm not even sure if I think this doll is haunted. Yeah, I still don't know. But there was one time too I was running, and that used to be over on this couch over here, and that too. One time my boyfriend all of a sudden was just like, you've got to do something with that doll. And it was months after I had bought it. And he's like, you got to do something with that doll. It's freaking me out. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I go over there and I look at it and I was like, are you freaking him out for some reason? And my chest, like I got that like butterfly feeling in my chest. I was like, oh, actually something is happening. But then like a couple days later, it was fine. So it comes and goes. It comes and goes. It scares me. I'm not used to it. It's crazy to me that other people would be used to it.
Yeah.
I can push through it. It's not like I run away or like throw it out or anything, but I mean, I still feel fear. You know what I mean? And like I think I always will. I'm 35. I've been scared of it since I was 7. And it's like I will probably always be scared. Just on the investigation on Friday night, I thought I was fine. I was walking around in these rooms alone, and then all of a sudden I walked into one, and I'm like, I'm scared. This scares me. And it's like a physical sensation that I can't make go away. Some people are super brave and don't feel that, or maybe, I don't know.
And now that's something that I think is interesting too. And I've had this conversation with my nephew, but I feel like being brave doesn't necessarily mean not being afraid. It just means when you feel afraid, you still can kind of like you said, kind of push through and investigate a little more. Even if it's not a paranormal investigation, if it's just like, I'm doing this thing and it scares me a little, you have a choice and you can say, you know what, I'm feeling scared and I'm going to walk away, and there is nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly fine. But you also have that opportunity to be brave and go, why am I feeling scared? What is on the other side of this feeling, and how can I face it, you know? And so I think what you just said about other people being brave, I think you're being brave too by being there and saying, you know, this feeling, I'm acknowledging I'm feeling this, and now I'm going to see what's on the other side of that. And I think that's really kind of cool. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So I was on Steve Berg's podcast a while back, and he said the same thing. And you just reminded me of that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm notorious for thinking amazing things about other people and never attributing them to myself
all the time.
So I'm like, they're brave, and and I'm not. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess bravery isn't really. It's not at all actually about not having fear, because there are brave people out there doing incredible things all the time. And probably still super scared of what could happen, you know? So, yeah. Good point. Good point.
Do you have any favorite items?
This painting, the green and black painting, is definitely a favorite of mine. I have a picture on my wall that is of a burning building. Nobody died in it. I looked it up before I bought this painting at the thrift store. I was like, I don't want to buy anything where someone passed away in it. That would be weird. Anyway, it's a burning building. I also really love that because it has a transposed picture on it of a wedding couple, like a couple and their wedding cake. Ooh. That accidentally got, the sun was on it or something, and it transposed the image onto the burning building. So that's a super cool one too. And then some jewelry that I have that my mom gave to me that's from my great grandma is also my favorite too.
How special.
Yeah. One of the pieces of jewelry, it's like a necklace. I investigated it, more than a year ago now, I think. And I put it online, and it got over 10 million views, which was the first time I'd ever reached over 10 million views. And I thought it was a really cool thing to have unfold and watch, because I'm like, I am essentially bringing in this massive community of people into this really personal sort of experience with this personal item, and afterwards I got to watch and see how that affected the item and how it affected my space and me, and I actually felt like the activity for a while died down a lot, and I started to contemplate the concept of stretching yourself too thin, even with the paranormal or with paranormal phenomena, stretching that phenomena too thin when you share it with people online, when millions and millions of people are consuming it. And it felt a little bit like it abandoned me for a short time, and made me rethink about how and what I share. So that's an interesting time, and that object is really special to me for those thoughts that it imparted on me, you know?
Yeah. We have one last question for you, and I'm wondering if folks come across a haunted object, especially if they don't want it in their space, what would you recommend that they do?
Give it to me. No, just kidding.
Ship it here.
Yeah.
P.O. box.
I do have a P.O. box. I mean, literally. Yeah.
I
will take it in, but there's also lots of other amazing investigators who do that, more seriously than I do. But if you need to get rid of anything quickly, don't throw it away. Give it to somebody. I'll know somebody. But no, if you have to live with a haunted object and you're wondering what to do, this is going to be eye roll because it seems really simple, but it's extremely important to set boundaries, because you have to remember that you are grounded in reality. I mean, it's all reality, but you are very grounded in the physical realm here. You have the authority to say, this is my space and my life, and I don't want to be overcome by this. And so setting boundaries and saying it out loud your physical voice is extremely powerful with magic or with the paranormal or with anything. And so speaking it out loud is going to give a lot more power and oomph to it. And then, you know, not pestering it or making content out of it. If it scares you, don't make content out of it. Crazy idea, I know. But I think that, again, like I just mentioned, when you get a lot of people and viewership and people lending their energy to something, in my case, it went away because that was not the expectation I set with that spirit or whatever. But in the case of somebody being scared of an object, you run the risk of giving it extra power to manifest even more when you share it online. So be very careful about what you share with or what you share and who you share it with. And then gift it to somebody if you need to get rid of it. I think that burning it, burying it, putting it in the water, throwing it out in the garbage, I don't think that does anything personally. Yeah. I think that is disrespectful to the cosmic energy of it all, and might cause some other issues for you. So re-gift it to somebody who can take care of it.
That's exactly what I was kind of getting after, and I'm so glad you said that, because I think so many people are just like, I'm just going to throw it in the trash, or I'm going to burn it and whatever. And like you said, it's very disrespectful, and like even if it's something that's making you uncomfortable, it's possible for you to set boundaries and for you to like protect yourself, and like you said, maybe move it on to someplace that it would be a better home for it, instead of just being disrespectful and harmful. So I'm really glad you said that.
So don't re-gift it to your enemies.
Unless they're
give it to somebody that actually wants it.
I mean, there may be a weird scenario where the enemy, I don't re-gift it to somebody who's not going to take care of it. Yeah. But, like, I guess you could start sending ghosts. You know what? If you want to do something to your enemies, just get into witchcraft, honestly. Yeah. And learn how to, you know, send back energy in that way and not through ghosts. But, like, anyway. So, and we don't know... It's also important, and I'll end it at this, but like it's important to remember too, we don't really know anything. We don't know the universal rules to these things, we don't know what's going on for a fact. None of us do. And so you don't know how that energy transfers. You don't know what it means to have a transference of energy of object or whatever. So like if you burn it, you could be alchemizing that energy and it'll just attach to your favorite ring or something, you know, and then what
we're thinking of Game of Thrones and the Mother of Dragons, and the fire actually brings her from the ashes. Yeah. Sorry, spoilers if anybody hasn't watched it.
I think we're far enough removed from
but by
too
now,
late.
Yeah, by now you should have watched it.
I didn't watch it, and even I know that, so we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Amanda, thank you so much for chatting with us today. I'm so happy I finally got to meet you and pick your brain. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
So I've got one more thing before you go. Would you like to become a member of the secret society of the Spooky Sisterhood?
Yes, of course. Thank you for asking.
We're very excited about this. So you just have to repeat after me. You can raise your hand, put your hand on some special object, whatever floats your boat. Here for it. Yes.
Haunted bear. Okay.
I, Amanda, promise to show compassion to the spirits, my community, and myself. Remain open-minded and non-judgmental. Use critical thinking. Treat people, places, and things with respect. And above all, keep it spooky.
Pretty effing spooky.
Woo!
Yes, I love that. Welcome to the sisterhood.
Thank you.
Can you tell everybody what you've got coming up, where they can find you, anything like that?
Yeah, so you can find me at Pretty Effin' Spooky on all social media platforms and prettyeffinspooky.com. I'm thinking of what events I have coming up. I'll be found at the Tamed Wild Samhain Retreat. I often give workshops. Keep an eye out for anything like that coming up. And then as far as projects go, in the near future, my most recent filming project with Amy Bruni called Historically Haunted, should be coming out. And then I also, this is the first time I've said it on a podcast, I am writing a book. And so keep an eye out for that in a year or so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
busy.
I'm busy. Yeah, I'm learning the art of cutting down on some on some things because I've been too busy. But
That is hard to do.
Yes.
All right. Well, before we sign off, I just want to remind our listeners to check us out on social media. You can visit beacons.ai/spooky sisterhood. And from there, you'll find links to our socials and website, our guests' info, and more. A big thank you to our Patreon pals. If you would like to join us for some behind the scenes, after the gavel content, you have the opportunity to do that and to ask questions. Head over to patreon.com/spooky sisterhood and check us out. And with that, if there's no more business, this meeting of the Secret Society of the Spooky Sisterhood is adjourned. As always, keep it spooky, Sibs.